Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something pretty unique. We've got this incredible mix of sources, personal letters, official memos, the usual historical accounts, but also diary entries.
Yeah, it's quite a collection.
And we're trying to pull out the threads connecting one really influential American family, the Dulleses, to, well, the massive events of the 20th century.
John Foster, Alan, and Eleanor.
Exactly. You probably know the names, but the way their lives tangle with global finance, secret intelligence, even deep family drama, it's often surprising, sometimes controversial.
And what really comes through, I think, from these sources is you get a sense of the unseen forces, things happening behind the curtain during this critical time, early 1900s through World War II and then right after.
Right.
We're looking for those moments, those insights that show how personal drive, family ties, how they really shaped world events, often completely out of public view.
So that's our mission, really, to unpack how these three siblings who had, really different motivations driving them, how each one left this huge mark on their time, maybe in ways they didn't even expect. Okay, so let's get into it.
Let's do it.
We start way back. November 1911, Lake Ontario. The sources paint this picture. It's a bit bleak, actually. A troubled season.
Yeah, low clouds, rain.
And you've got young Foster and Alan there with their sister Eleanor watching them. The whole atmosphere sounds off. Unseasonable weather. Farmers apparently burning deformed calves born that night.
Saying something foul was afoot. It's quite evocative.
It really is. So what's happening there by the lake? Why does this early scene matter?
Well, it seems minor, right? Just two brothers deal-making by the shore.
Yeah.
But Eleanor's observation, even then, it foreshadows so much.
How so?
She notes Foster's careful way of talking, Alan's quietness, his, what she called his geometry of defeat when he got cornered. Even then, she saw Foster having his say and Alan his silences. Deal-making. It's like a miniature version of their future roles.
Interesting. Okay, let's jump forward a bit. 1914, Eleanor's at Bryn Mawr, becomes friends with this woman, Grace. And Grace tells her this absolutely harrowing story about the 1910 Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire, 146 women dead.
Terrible tragedy.
And Grace adds this detail her uncle, a judge, told the striking women they were striking against God and nature. Just brutal.
Wow.
After hearing this, Grace offers Eleanor a drink from a silver flask. First time Eleanor drinks alcohol. What's the significance there? It feels like more than just a first drink.
Oh, absolutely. It's the catalyst, isn't it? The raw injustice of Grace's story. That judge's comment, it hits Eleanor hard.
Right.
And that drink, offered right after, it feels like her first act of, well, defiance, a break from her sheltered upbringing. While her brothers are already playing these power games, Eleanor's starting down a different path, developing this sense of social justice, clear-sightedness. It really sets her apart.
And speaking of those power games, Foster's grandfather was a massive influence. Told him, think like a lawyer first, but like a businessman second.
Crucial advice for Foster.
And also, keep your eye on the world, not just the next deal down the street. This grandfather, he'd been an ambassador, right? Had connections everywhere.
Exactly. And that was the real lesson, I think. It wasn't just about degrees from Princeton or GW law, though they had the... No, the grandfather emphasized the network, the bloodlines, the relationships. He basically said without his connections, he'd still be stuck doing farm mortgages back in Indianapolis. That's the real ticket of power for this family. It's about who you know globally.
Okay, so fast forward again. Interwar period. Sullivan and Cromwell, the Dulles firm, is becoming a monster.
A real powerhouse, yeah.
Foster's client list is just staggering. Rockefeller, Carnegie, DuPont, meat packers, coal guys, Texas oil men. But his big bet, the sources say, was Germany.
He saw Germany as the future.
Yeah. Steel, coal, the Ruhr, chemicals, oil. What's that focus tell us?
It shows his ambition. His vision wasn't just about serving clients. It was about strategically placing American money right at the center of German industrial recovery.
Even as things were getting politically complicated.
Especially then. He thought that's where the smart money needed to be. It's a move that, with hindsight, looks incredibly fraught.
And then there are these connections to the Vatican through Monsignor Franz Joseph Sommer.
Right. The Vatican was deeply worried about communism, and they needed help protecting their assets. Things like Italian insurance companies, even old Tsarist railway bonds that were basically worthless by then.
So how does Foster play this?
Masterfully, it seems. He leverages the Vatican's anti-communism to justify, or at least rationalize, the firm's work with the Nazis as they rose to power.
Oh.
He frames Hitler as someone who just wants new roads, new hydroelectric facilities.
Hmm.
Someone focused on rebuilding German industry. For Foster, it seems, the ideology was secondary to the business opportunity. Pragmatism above all else.
Okay, and here's where it gets really tangled, because Alan Dulles, the brother, he's running on a parallel track. Intelligence, finance.
Mhm. Allen famously boasted Sullivan and Cromwell had intelligence connections as good as the State Department and probably the Vatican itself.
So the firm wasn't just doing law, they were dealing with Nazi-connected companies.
Oh, yes. Names like Klinsmann, Hamburg America, the chemical giant IG Farben, Bosch. And this caused friction inside the firm.
You mean people were uncomfortable?
Definitely. We see accounts, like from Leo Miller, about the awkwardness, the unease of using Heil Hitler in letters, especially when some of the typists were Jewish and had husbands marching today. The moral compromises were becoming very real, very personal.
So there's debate within the firm, Allen versus Foster.
Yes. Allen seems more concerned about reputation, losing clients who are anti-Nazi. He's worried about how it looks.
And Foster.
Foster doubles down. He defends keeping the Berlin office open. He argues Hitler's Germany is just undergoing a rebalancing, a more vigorous national response to history. And he makes this really stark warning. If Hitler falls, Germany will be read as Mrs. McGillicuddy's drawers. His fear of communism seems to override any concerns about Nazism. This stance was so strong, it even led one partner, Seabrook Jr., to resign on principle.
So as war approaches, they get involved in moving money. Flight capital, cloaking operations.
Precisely. Advising clients like Rockefeller on how to shift funds, often through Switzerland, using the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS.
Yeah, the central banker's bank, right?
Exactly. They used complex structures, like swapping Standard Oil and IG Farben shares, setting up Swiss holding companies, all designed to protect German-based assets from seizure if war broke out. We even see Prescott Bush's name pop up in connection with a deal for Thyssen, the steel magnate.
So this wasn't just protecting normal business assets.
Not entirely. These maneuvers were explicitly designed to get around wartime controls, and some of these assets belonged to companies actively fueling the Nazi war effort. Think U-boat diesel coming from standard refineries. It's a very gray area, legally and morally.
Okay, now let's bring in another character. Misha Reznikov, mathematician, musician.
A fascinating figure. He starts out with anti-Nazi work, like running this kayak bus service, getting refugees out of Germany.
A kayak bus service.
Yeah, apparently. He had contacts in Jerusalem, later worked for British intelligence, specifically the Ministry of Economic Warfare, tracking banking stuff. Quite the operator, as you said.
So his path is going to intersect with the Dulles's, I imagine.
Oh, definitely. But first, let's look at the human cost of all this maneuvering as the war gets going.
Right. The sources bring us Adela's story. It's heartbreaking. She was trying to ransom Jews from the SS in Vienna.
She describes the scene in the looted Rothschild Palace, the SS officers, their chillingly bureaucratic process, the German mania for records, even while committing atrocities.
And the toll it took on her, physically, mentally, led to her death. What does her story really expose?
It exposes the industrial scale of Nazi persecution. They literally turned destruction into an industry. And maybe even more shocking, the source suggests the Allies, Americans, British, they knew.
They knew about the atrocities.
Had known for months, it says, but did precisely nothing. It's a chilling indictment of Allied inaction.
And then there's the Niemann family, their factory in Cologne, stolen by a banker named Schroeder.
Yes. They felt they were compensated at maybe 18% of its value.
Yeah.
Essentially, if they put it with a gun to their head.
And Eleanor finds out about this.
She does, and she confronts Foster directly in Washington. Asks him to intervene with Schroeder.
How does Foster react to that? He's representing Schroeder, presumably.
That's the conflict. His response is incredibly dismissive. Basically, I represent my clients, not the whole suffering world. It's Eleanor's moral outrage versus Foster's cold pragmatism.
He didn't see any issue with representing someone involved in this.
Worse than that, he apparently remarks that the SS is an important factor in German business these days, and even calls them a better class of people than the earlier brown shirts.
Yeah.
Just total detachment from the human reality.
Chilling. Okay, back to Misha, the mathematician spy. He's in Bern, Switzerland, doing his intelligence work.
And he witnesses something. He sees the Swiss police arresting the Niemanns, the very family Eleanor was concerned about. He recognizes Marta Niemann from a photo he'd seen with Eleanor.
And this makes him wonder.
Yeah, he has this dark thought. Did Alan Dulles, who was also operating in Bern, somehow lead Eleanor's friends right onto the abattoir ramp. Was Allen involved?
And Byrne was crawling with spies, wasn't it? Everyone watching everyone.
Completely. The source puts it vividly. The English are wiretapping him. Dulles were wiretapping him. I bet next bottle the Germans are wiretapping him too.
Allen was under intense scrutiny from all sides.
And in that environment, Misha makes a big discovery, using his math skills. Yes. He finds Allen's mother lode, as he calls it. Turns out Allen, the top American spy there, had somehow managed to buy access to a private Swiss government telex line direct to Berlin.
Wow. A direct line. What did that mean?
It meant Allen had a secret channel. Potentially for official intelligence, sure. But also potentially for other kinds of information flow. Financial, perhaps. It gave Misha and the British a crucial window into Allen's hidden communications.
And Allen's official work for the OSS, the precursor to the CIA, is also raising flags.
It is. He's working with fixers like von Gavernitz, who helps move capital around. And then there's a debriefing with OSS Chief Donovan, where a German source details the massive scale of Nazi looting, money laundering, involving figures like Seeson and even Martin Bormann.
And Donovan is concerned about Allen's role in all this.
Very concerned. He points out that many of Allen's key German contacts are his old law clients from Sullivan and Cromwell. It makes Allen look like Berlin's backdoor for flight capital.
Not a good look for America's spy chief in Switzerland.
Not at all. Plus, Donovan warns him the press is sniffing around. Allen's past dealings are starting to create a really dangerous situation for him, potentially exposing his wartime activities.
Okay, let's shift to the post-war era. What happens to Eleanor?
Eleanor finds a very different path. She becomes a research leader for the new Social Security program. She calls it good work that made me a better person, a real commitment to public service.
A stark contrast to her brothers.
Definitely. She also does work in occupied Austria. And there, she has this fascinating, slightly unnerving encounter with a Soviet NKVD Colonel General Yasnayev.
What happens?
He reveals he knows all about her family. He even knows their profession, as he puts it. He calls it conspiratia.
Conspiracy.
Essentially, yeah. It shows that even the Soviets were well aware of the Dulles family's reputation and their entanglement in global power plays and, well, secret dealings. Eleanor's world and her brother's world weren't entirely separate.
But then Eleanor gets involved in something huge herself, doesn't she? The UN vote on Palestine partition.
Yes, this is a really critical moment. Reuven Shiloah, who would later head the Mossad, comes up with a plan to secure the needed votes. It's incredibly audacious. It involves blackmail.
Blackmail? Who are they targeting?
A major American figure. The plan uses information dug up by Saul Lifton, who was part of the Treasury's safe haven investigation.
That was looking for Nazi assets hidden abroad, right?
Exactly. Lifton found something explosive. A file described as something that'll give the Pope of Wall Street a heart attack. Information that could apparently ruin this powerful American.
And Misha Reznikov gets involved in delivering this threat against Rockefeller.
That's what the sources indicate.
Yeah.
Misha confronts Rockefeller, presenting evidence of a wartime share transfer that amounted to treason in any U.S. jurisdiction.
Powerful stuff.
Absolutely. Rockefeller is cornered. He agrees to use his influence to get the crucial Latin American votes needed for the partition resolution to pass at the UN.
And the pressure was intense.
Incredibly intense. One of the operatives involved, Elam, apparently made a very blunt threat if Rockefeller didn't deliver the votes. Elam would personally break Rockefeller's neck. This was serious high-stakes stuff.
So the UN vote itself at Lake Success must have been tense.
Extremely. The description is one of drama, last-minute lobbying, uncertainty right up to the end. And then the vote passes. Partition is approved.
And Eleanor is there, watching.
She is. And her reaction is profound. She sees it as the one right thing, something worth the sorrows, worth having lived for. A moment of deep moral conviction for her, achieved through these, well, complex means.
Which brings us to one final powerful confrontation. Eleanor goes to see Allen. He's now in the early days of the CIA.
Right, in those nascent offices.
And she tells him straight out, Safe Haven, the Treasury investigation, is coming after him. She says she knows about his questionable activities during the war.
A direct challenge.
And then she says something really striking. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's power. What do you make of that final exchange?
I think it crystallizes everything we've been talking about. It's the ultimate face-off within the family. Eleanor, representing a kind of moral compass, confronts Allen, the embodiment of clandestine power and ambition.
Right.
Her statement about power being the opposite of love It suggests that the very pursuit of influence, the kind her brothers mastered, fundamentally corrodes human connection and morality. And she, using her knowledge, finally confronts that reality head-on.
So, stepping back from the details, what does this deep dive into the Dillis saga really tell us? What should we take away?
Well, I think it shows how profoundly personal lives, family dynamics, and individual ambitions can intersect with and genuinely steer major historical currents. The Dulles legacy isn't just about policy. It's woven into the fabric of 20th century finance, intelligence, conflict,
And crises, too.
and crises, absolutely. Their actions reverberate through global financial systems, intelligence networks, even down to specific humanitarian situations. It's a reminder that history is often shaped in these hidden spaces by individuals driven by complex mixes of principle, pragmatism, and, yes, power.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you, our listeners, to chew on. In a world where so much influence is wielded behind closed doors, how much of the history we think we know is just the surface? How many other stories like this are still buried, and what were the real human costs of keeping those secrets?